everybody, and welcome back to the weirdness that is here in this chaotic little book corner. This is my pink Christmas tree. That is the first snow of the season. This is really angry hair that doesn't know what it's doing, and I am Acacia. Welcome to this little chaotic little book corner, which I've already said, but I'm going to say it again because it really is a chaotic little book corner. Today, am going to do the this or the that challenge, and it is done officially and originally by Whatkellyreads, which I will link down below. Go watch her. She's fabulous. I will also link Jen Campbell's version of this down below. She's also wonderful and fabulous. They both give some really great recommendations, a lot of which I have taken and picked up myself. I am going to do my own challenge, well, not challenge, my own version of the tag now, and hopefully I'm going to show you some new, some interesting, and some pretty books. We are going to start with why would it be your oldest? I don't know. But we're going to start with what my oldest book is and what my newest book is. My oldest. This is the Tall Tale Book of Make-Believe, and I got it for my first birthday. And so it is 25 years old. It is definitely my oldest book on my shelf. My favorite story as a child growing up in this short story collection was Bad Mousy, about a little girl named Donica, who had a little mousie that lived with her and her mother, and he was a bad little mousie, and she had to teach him to be good. That was my favorite book as a child, and the illustrations are just gorgeous, some in black and white, some in color. I really just love that book, and I still love that book, and I'll read it when I'm feeling just a little bit like I kind of need a boost in myself. We're going to move on to my newest book, which is this, Asking for It, which is by Louise O'Neill. This has gotten a lot of publicity over in the UK and Europe area. So far, it hasn't really gotten much here in America, which is kind of a bummer, but it's okay. Only Ever Yours really didn't get much attention either for a while. I'm very excited to have gotten this off of Book Depository and to be picking it up. I mean, look at that bright color. Do you see that? I just love the yellow. But I'm very excited to be picking this up and reading it. It has a lot of meaning to me, and I'm very excited to see everyone's opinion and thoughts on this as they read it. If anyone would like to do a buddy read on this, I would be totally up for it, because I would love someone to discuss that with as I'm reading it. The next would be what are my largest and smallest books in terms of size. And my largest would be this. Almost hit myself in the face. This is Alexander McQueen's book of art. You can see it's got a holograph actually on the front, which is not showing properly. Oh, there we go. Yes. What? And then the inside is almost like a wood looking flap, which I love. And then you have all of his designs, which I have to admit to me are more like art than they are actually wearable pieces that I would put on and go down the street. And there are some beautiful quotes in here and stories. And I love this book. And it was a definite splurge on my part. But I really saw it for a good price, so I picked it up. And I'm glad I did. My smallest little book is one that I actually put in my November book haul, I believe, which I will link down below. And this is Manic Depressive Dream Girl by Nadia? Hasib? If I butchered that terribly, I am so sorry. And if I've butchered it before, I am so sorry. But I'm very excited about this. This is a novella. It's a little book, probably about 72 pages. I'm totally stoked to read this. And it'll probably just be something I throw in my bag that I can read little by little. My next would be what is my longest and my shortest books I own. My longest, The Crimson Petal and the White, which is a novel by Michael Faber. And I found this at a used bookstore for $4, which was very exciting. It's in pretty good condition. I will admit that it's a little frayed on bits and pieces. but I'm okay with it. I'm not too picky right now. I'm getting pickier as I get more into my book collecting. But I'm very excited to read that. It's just very heavy. My shortest one is 11 pages, and it's Meh, which is a silent children's book by Deborah Malcolm, and it is about depression, and it explains to children what depression looks and feels like. So when he's sad, he's in all black and white, and then as he comes out of it, he sees color again. And I love this book. It's so gorgeous, and it's so fun, and it actually does have questions at the back to ask anyone you read this with, so you can kind of have a jump start for how to start the conversation. Which is your most expensive book, and which was a bargain? My most expensive book is this. This is the Dissociative Identity Sourcebook, and this I had to track down from a used bookstore, and it ended up being an old library book from Kentucky. And it was about $52, but it seemed like a good investment, and it ended up being a really great nonfiction for me, and a really good way for me to learn about things that I didn't know about myself and others. So this was a really good investment, but definitely my most expensive buy. My best bargain would have to be A Study of Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro, and this is actually an ARC edition, which I found at a Goodwill in Portland, and I know it should not have been resold, but it was 50 cents, and it hasn't even hit the stores yet, so I definitely couldn't leave it there. I mean, it was sad and lonely, and it needed to come home. Plus, it was my birthday, so I figured it was important to come home with me. So I picked this up, and it was only 50 cents, which is a really great deal for a book that hasn't yet been put out. Now, my most beautiful book is this one, The Exhibit by Lauren Eggert Crow, and this is a poetry pamphlet that I picked up, and I am so happy I did. The book is gorgeous. The poems are beautiful, and it's published by Hyacinth Girl Press, and I did pick up another one from them that's on its way called I believe Circus Insomnia or Insomniatic Circus, which I'm very excited about. And the question, which I forgot to ask, was what's my most beautiful and my ugliest? And this is definitely my most beautiful cover. My ugliest, I don't really like to say ugly because I don't really keep books that I find unattractive, but I would say this is the edition that I am the least excited to own. It's in really poor condition. I picked it up for a read this October, and I wish I hadn't, because now I need to find a better edition of it. And this is Carrie by Stephen King, which is one of my favorite books of all time, but I am just not happy with this cover. I don't think it does the book justice, and I also don't think it does the author justice. I just feel kind of sad, especially because it's a little worn down, and it's got a lot of stains on it, which is a bummer. What is my most favorite book? What is my most hated? My most favorite book is Room by Emma Donoghue, and I love, love, love this book. I read this long ago, and I think this is one of the first books when I first got back into reading that I sat down and read from cover to cover almost without stopping. And I had no one to, kind of point me in a direction and to tell me to pick this up. All it was that I saw on the back that Audrey Niffenegger, I don't really want to mess that name up. Emma Domaghue's writing is superb. Alchemy, changing innocence into horror and horror into tenderness. Room is a book to read in one sitting. When it's over, you look up, the world looks the same, but you are somehow different, and the feeling lingers for days. And she is one of my all-time favorite authors, and now Emma is as well. But when Audrey had anything to say about this book, I immediately picked it up and I read through it in, I think, 2 days flat, which was not normal for me at the time, and it became one of my favorites. My least favorite book I do not have on the shelf, because I will never have it on my shelf. I read it for a friend, and she asked me to read it because she thought that it would help me through a crisis, and it actually offended me terribly, and that is The Secret. I'm not going to give it any more attention. Name a book that made you cry and a book that made you laugh. The book that made me cry was The Virgin Suicides. And, oh, goodness gracious, like, this makes me sob every time. And I've read it a couple of times. And the movie makes me cry. They all make me cry. And it's such a dream state-like feeling to the book. And you just feel like you're wrapped up in this world where these girls are just almost out of your reach of knowledge. And then all of a sudden they're not there. And you're like, where did they go? They were so beautiful. And they're not there anymore. So this one really tugged at my heartstrings. And it was like... And every time I pick it up, it just feels like an old friend. And it feels just well-loved. And honestly, I would love to get a better edition. There's an edition I just saw Lena from Just Kissed Your Frog post on Instagram. And I think that will be my next purchase as a splurge. Not my next purchase in general, but this would be, this is the first version of it I ever read, and I have beaten it to death, and it needs to be replaced by something a little more special, because it's such a special book to me. The book that made me laugh, but also cry, Furiously Happy, a funny book about horrible things, and I cannot say enough things about Jenny Lawson and about this book to give it, I mean, let's just first talk about, okay, the inside flap, like, there is a cat riding, or a raccoon riding a cat, and then there is a raccoon on the cover, and he's a little shiny, and I believe his name is Rory, I think. I could be wrong, but I think the raccoon's name is Rory. And my sister's name is Rory. And that makes this raccoon very special. And this all is very special to me. This book, I laughed, I cried, I read through it in a day, and I didn't expect to. And there's a little letter in there from her to everyone who gets through this book. And if you're suffering with anything horrible or weird or terrible or illness or loss, just pick this up. You need it in your life to feel like you're not alone. I love that book. Name a book that warmed your heart and one that made you shiver. The book that warmed my heart is none other than The Grace Keepers by Christy Logan. I actually ended up repurchasing this. I have my original copy here, and I'm sending it to a friend of mine. This one I actually had a small accident with, which is very sad. And so it needs a new home. But I also wanted a new copy anyway, so I wasn't too bummed. But I'll be sending that to her for Christmas in LA. But this copy I had wanted from day one. And it's so beautiful and so wonderful. And the reason this warms my heart is because it's a romance, but it's not a romance. There's no complete and total chaos of focusing on this romance that doesn't really need to be focused on. And it's just about love and family and acceptance of differences and time and hope and just life in general. And it's just such a beautiful adaptation of something so simple, and it just takes my breath away every time I read it, and I've now read it twice. I actually went back and reread it right after I finished it because I couldn't put it away. Now, the book that made me shiver is Alice by Christina Henry. And I could go into great detail about this book, and I could tell you everything about it because the amount of ranting and raving and love for this book that I have is immensely huge. But I'm going to wait till after Christmas to do a side-by-side comparison of this to Alice in Wonderland and do a book review of this book precisely. And I actually want to read After Alice as well and kind of do the three of them together to see what I can come up with. But I will tell you this book is not for the faint of heart. If you have any trigger warnings that make you nervous, usually this may not be the book for you. There is darkness, intrigue, magic, wizards. There is a very strong, actually, Alice is an extremely strong heroine in this book, and that was amazing to me. I always see her as a strong heroine in some form or another, but this, she took the cake and she beat some butt for sure. The White Rabbit just changes his whole story, and it's a beautiful adaptation of a very dark and sinister idea. And it actually inspired an idea that I have for when I go back to school and write a dissertation. So I am super stoked about that book, and I will rant and rave about it on and on throughout this channel, so I won't drive you too crazy. What's a book you can't wait to read, and one you've been putting off? The book that I cannot wait to read is this. The Singularly and Extraordinary Tale of the Mirror and Goliath by Isabel B. And I can't wait. It is compared to an extraordinary dark fairy tale for adults, fans of Catherine Valente and Neil Gaiman. I can't wait. I will read this very soon, and I am really struggling to not read it now, but I've got so many books going. I can't pick this up, but I want to. The book I've been putting off for quite some time is this, and we're going to have an avalanche of books very soon. Jonathan Franzen's The Corrections. I don't know. One, it's very large. Two, everything else just looks so much better. I bought this on a whim from somebody's recommendation. And Mercedes, it looks like, liked it as well, but I will probably read it eventually. But there just keeps being more books that just look so much better, so I keep putting it off because it has not grabbed me completely yet. Recommend a book that you want more people to read, and ones that you just were not as good as you expected. Ones that I want everyone to read. Alice, read it, please. Please, I need someone to talk about it with me, because nobody's read it, and I just want to talk about it with somebody. I'll put that away later. And then the one that I don't get is Life of Pi. I don't have a copy. I read it for school a long time ago. I didn't understand why it was such a big deal and what all the hype was about. Yeah, it's a cool concept and it's very different, and it's definitely got some mental factors to it, and it's screwed up, and it's really weird and dark and morbid. And usually I love that stuff, but for some reason Life of Pi didn't do it for me. It never did it for me, and I probably won't reread it, even though my sister says I really should. Final question is the next book you want to buy for yourself, and the next book leaving your shelf. The next book I want to buy is The Chrysalids by John Wyndham, and I was going to order it through my local bookstore, but unfortunately, being in America, I can't get the edition I want, so I have to go on Book Depository. And I'm not sad, but I'm sad because it takes so long to get here. And on top of that, I just really would rather support my local bookstore. And the next book to be leaving my good graces, again, is this version of The Gracekeeper. I am not at all unhappy with this book. It just needs a new home. So there you have it, folks. That is my this and that tag. I am doing it on just the excitement and adrenaline that I have from this new channel. Hopefully you all like it. Hopefully you all subscribe, click like, and leave a comment down below. Let's get talking about some books, and I hope to see you all again very soon, and hope that you all can give me some criticism, comments, compliments, critiques, or quandaries. I will see you all again very shortly. Bye!